Oh, look at that. I like people who listen. This is awesome. I want to welcome you formally to our agent panel. You know, are you in the game? But before we get started, there's a few things I just want to talk to you guys about. So one, we have upgraded our YouTube channel that we're working on. That YouTube channel is going to be such a resource for you guys. And so we have a new YouTube channel. It's called KW Central, which is going to become much more important to you in the days to come. We have a big news that is coming. I think we're announcing a team meeting next week. Is that fair? Maybe, maybe not. It's coming is all I know. Right. But look, I'm not going to tell you what's coming. You come to the next team meeting and you find out what's going on. That's what I say. But for right now, if you guys will pull out your phones when you get a chance and Google KW Central, and it's going to be the first video that pops up with a red and white background on there. And that's on our YouTube. Sorry, on YouTube. So pull up Google. Well, you can just go straight on YouTube and go to YouTube. Gotcha. Okay, so see, I don't know anything. So what I need you to do is go to youtube.com and search KW Central, and we should be the first red and white video that pops up if you guys will subscribe to that channel for us so that we can really get ripping and rolling on that. And then I would like to remind everybody what tomorrow is. Does anybody know what tomorrow is? It's Red Day. If you don't know who Mo Anderson is, that is somebody who you need to go Google. That is a main cultural icon in our company. But because of our culture and what we believe and supporting our community and being involved the way that we do, we celebrate Mo Anderson's birthday every year with Red Day. So tomorrow in the morning, we're going to be putting together our sunshine bags for our assisted living people in the community that are assisted living that have kind of been forgotten during the pandemic or just need a little extra love. And then in the afternoon, we're doing a blood drive. And if you have not reached out to your sphere in a little while, you haven't had a reason to touch somebody, this is a great reason to touch your people. Let them know that we're running this blood drive and that they're welcome to come down. And I mean, I would not suggest you physically touch people, Joe Don Baker, but I would suggest that you do give a little love on your people and send them on down to the blood drive. All right. So without further ado, I would love to get started with our lovely panelists. And again, this is Are You in the Game? And we're talking about the current real estate market. If I may, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pass it along, and I'm going to start with you if that's okay, because you're the closest. And if you will just introduce yourself, how long you've been in the business, and what your role is. Like, for example, are you a buyer's agent, a listing agent, both, so on and so forth.
My name is Sam Wackerhagen. I got my license at the end of 2019 and went full-time January 2020, and I'm a solo agent with Keller Williams.
My name is Daniel Byrd. I've been licensed for 5 years now, and I am a listing agent with the Sandy Sparks sales team.
Nice, thank you.
My name is Paul Lanier. I've been an agent since 2019, and I'm a listing or buyer's agent, whatever the client needs.
I'm Deena Anibal. I have been licensed since 2013, and I am a solo agent. I'm Lauren Gibson. I don't even know my name. And I've been licensed since 2015, and I'm part of a husband and wife team. We do everything.
Thank you. And for my participant that's on Zoom, if you will unmute yourself and introduce yourself. Make sure still have any trouble.
My turn?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I'm Judy Weinstock. I have a small team. I focus mostly on the listings, and I had to do the math. I've had my license since 92.
Wow, thank you, Judy. All right, yes, and give everybody a round of applause, please, for being here. Even though that they were definitely willing participants, it's a little nerve-wracking to be up here, so I appreciate you guys' love. We have not given them any of the questions ahead of time, so they have no idea what I'm going to ask, which I love very, very much. So these are the rules. I'm going to ask a question. If you guys will just jump in for me and not make me pick on one of you, and everybody get a chance to answer the question. Is that fair? All right. My first question is, how has this unique seller's market affected your business? Has it been positive or negative? Who would like to start? Thank you.
Well, considering I do mostly listings, it's had a positive impact on our listings selling quickly. And the conversations we're having with our sellers are obviously much easier than they would be if homes weren't selling. So I would say mostly a positive impact on the listing side. It is, you're right, it's a seller's market. But I'm also encouraged that there are so many people wanting to buy. So as difficult as it is for buyers right now and the extravagant due diligence fees and going over the asking price, things like that are a challenge, but I'm still careful to say it's a good buyer's market and that we have buyers wanting to buy as well. So it's a good market.
That's interesting. It's not putting the scarcity in there and then interesting, very interesting. Sam?
I know I work both sides of it. I do have predominant of my clients are buyers, a lot of first-time home buyers. So I've seen the negative impact on that of cash poor buyers that don't have the high due diligences, who need closing costs and things like that, where it's just, like I said, they can be pre-approved with a loan, but maybe not pre-qualified for this market. And just, it can be sad and frustrating dealing with them. The listings I have, like you said, have been, positive. They go quick but yeah, dealing with the buyers, I have seen that negative impact on that.
That's a good insight. Positive or negative, this market?
I think it can go both ways. And I think setting expectations is very important, whether it's a seller or a buyer, because with listings, you have to make sure they have their plan of where they're going to go. It is something where you're going to put their house on the market. It's going to sell super fast. They're going to get a lot for it. They're going to love that. And it's a very positive transaction for them as long as they have a plan. And we work with buyers also. So also setting expectations for them. Maybe they're not gonna get the first house they offer on, and that can be a negative impact for them and they can get disheartened. But if you set the right expectations up front, then they're prepared for it. So overall positive.
Ditto to everything everybody said. When I started in 2013, it was not unusual to have a listing sit on the market 60 days, 65 days. You would take a buyer to it. They'd have time to sleep on it, think about it over the weekend. And, now listing agents are allowing 15-minute showings. So those days are gone. So I think it's, a positive market for sellers, but definitely not a positive market for your buyers right now, especially buyers that are pre-qualified at 200,000 or below. Some of these buyers don't have $20,000 to, overpay for a house or to put $20,000 down for due diligence and risk losing that amount of money. So definitely a seller's market. And for sellers, it's a great market. And, we all love listings right now. So definitely, let's try to get more.
Paul or Judy, who would like to jump in next?
Yeah, I'll speak. So in our business, actually, our transactions are up, and strangely, we're doing more buyer work these days than seller. And the change that I see most dramatically is the amount of work that goes into getting every buyer under contract and the resulting stress on the buyer's agent. I mean, it's tough being a buyer's agent. It's tough being a buyer, but it's really tough on the buyer's agent, where the immediacy now, we used to have the luxury of asking our buyers to preview every property before we'd show it to them. You can't ask that of them anymore, or you'll lose it. So we're having to really pull in all of our resources to be available when a buyer sees a house of interest and it's first day on the market, because of what's going on and because coming soons are being sold right out from under us, and agents are not sticking with their original deadlines. We see how quick you have to be, and so it's a lot of stress and a lot of a lot of therapy. We're doing a lot of therapy with our clients when they lose out, and just being the cheerleader and saying, don't give up. There is a house out there for you.
That's so true. I used to joke before this market came into play that, one of our jobs is therapists, and that you are certainly right. That is never more true than it is right now. Paul, you're the last one who hasn't asked a question. I didn't forget you.
Yes, it can be a little frustrating for your buyers, especially when you're trying to help them find a home, their forever home, or it's just hard sometimes, help them find a home.
All right, so everyone has talked about there's been some adjustments in the market. If you'll hold on to it for me. But what adjustments in your business have you had to make? For example, have you had to change up how you're doing lead generation? Have you had to focus more on more buyers or sellers? So how has this actually changed your business? And this was originally a veteran question. However, when I thought about even our newest agents coming in, the market that you started in is not the same market that you're in now. So I would love to hear, how has your business changed?
Guess I got the mic. I'll go first on this
I
one.
like
I quit my job welding in January last year and was like, I'm gonna door knock my way and open my house way into success. And I went and hit the ground running. And then come March, it was basically illegal, my whole game plan. So, that was, a punch in the mouth. But I definitely, I got out of my comfort zone. I started making calls. I reached out to people that I did know that I could reach out to and get in contact with. And just adjusted, but that was it switched. And I was like, I'm gonna work with first-time home buyers. I'm gonna help people with this. And it's like, man, first-time home buyers are scary to work with because I'm tired of calling them. We lost another offer, so that has been a huge adjustment. But like I said, it's been good for me. It's gotten me out of my comfort zones, helped me to grow my business in other ways. And still, they need us even more now. They need a good agent that can, help them with these transactions, because it's not an easy walkthrough. It is a stressful, difficult transaction right now on the buy side. So just got to use that to motivation to help the clients.
I think that's a really good point, how much value that we have right now in this market, more than ever. How has your business changed?
I think Lauren kind of touched on this earlier. I think a lot of it has just been the way that we prep our clients. Our business has changed, yes, in that we have to act so quickly now. Listings are ready to go yesterday. If you don't get your buyer to the house in time, they've missed out on it. So the sense of urgency has definitely picked up in our business. But I think a lot of the shift, at least in our business, has been preparing our clients, preparing our buyers, what type of due diligence fees are expected, what type of due diligence periods are expected, what do appraisals look like right now. Same thing on the listing side. What does the market look like now? How much activity should you plan for? Negotiating strategies. It's not how do we find a buyer, it's how do we choose the best buyer. So I think preparing our clients has really been the biggest shift in our business thus far.
That was powerful when I hadn't thought about it that way, but now that we're helping them select the best offer, and what a change that is, not just finding a buyer, but now it's weeding through the multiple offers. That's a really good point. How has your business changed?
Well, my business changes the way I have to market. Like he was saying, want to door knock and do a lot of open houses. When those weren't available, you have to think of other ways to get clients, for as Facebook ads, handing out cards when you can. Just think outside the box, basically.
Giant billboards in
Yes,
multiple cities.
Well, yeah, doing billboards in other cities and stuff like that. Talking to the lenders, see if they can refer you some business, other agents in other cities. So that's how I've changed my business a lot.
That is exactly what I was asking for. Is it your business that has changed? Is it your lead generation? Is it the preparation for your buyers and sellers? How has your business changed?
I think if this market has taught me anything, it's to remain in constant contact with your sphere and your past clients. So earlier this year, I started going back to people that I sold houses to in 2013 and 2014 and saying, hey, do you know how much equity you have in your house? And I think I've gotten like 3 listings just as a result of doing that. So, they're not buying anything, but they're definitely willing to sell. So I think that just staying in contact, and a lot of these people don't really understand how much equity they actually do have in their house. And so just showing them a figure, a dollar amount, they're more than happy to talk to you, believe me.
You know, the NAR consistently reports that, you know, in the high 80s, somewhere between 86 and 80% of all people who did business with an agent would do business with that agent again, yet only 12% does. That's the hugest gap. And the only difference is keeping up with your people and not forgetting about them and reaching out to them periodically. Your database. That's that there's a reason why we call it that. That's an excellent point. Lauren, how has your business changed?
So really just echoing the same thing that everybody is saying, as far as, you know, there's sellers out there. Some of them are nervous because they don't know where they're going to go. But communicating with them, showing them the equity that they have in their house, and, you know, being creative, thinking outside of the box and showing them, hey, maybe we build, or maybe we look for land, or maybe we rent for a while, or maybe we can get multiple offers and do a seller lease back while you build. You know, just thinking outside of the box and showing them the options that they have will bring those sellers to the light, and they'll have more comfort of knowing that they're taken care of, and just educating them up front. You know, what it's going to look like. And hey, we may get 14 offers that we have to schedule a time and sit down and talk about the right thing. And then that's where they've got the wiggle room to kind of figure out what's going to help them best moving forward. And then on the buying side, which is tougher, just, you know, educating them and making sure they know up front, you know, you may not find your perfect home on your first chance, and that's okay.
Absolutely. Setting those expectations for smoother transactions. That absolutely makes sense to me. Judy, how about you? How has your business changed?
Yeah, one thing that we developed by necessity was kind of a secondary meeting after the buyer consult. We decided on our buyer consults we don't want to discourage them right out of the starting gate. So we talk a little bit about the market then, but then as we're starting to move forward on searches and properties, we set up another time, just phone call usually, where we go over what this market is like and strategies. We've actually come up with like a tip sheet for winning in a multiple offer situation. So we just found that waiting until the time of writing an offer was too late to introduce these concepts of, you know, these wildly huge due diligence fees and, you know, giving up on your due diligence and your appraisal and all of those things. So we now set a time for having that conversation that has an agenda, a tip sheet that we're talking around to get them ready for when they find a house and they make an offer. So it's not such a gargantuan ordeal to come up with the proper terms that at that time.
You know, I find that very interesting that you guys have expanded your buyer consultation. You know, I think that prior, there was probably a lot of us as an agent body that skipped the buyer consultation. Like we meet people at houses and then try to catch up. And at this point, not only are you finding that one consultation is extremely important, but that you're doing a two-pronged method so that you're not intimidating your buyers, but they're very highly prepared. That's interesting. I was wondering how that was affecting our consultations. And you actually kind of brought me into my next question. What are you guys doing to win offers? What are you doing for your buyers? What are the things that are winning offers for your buyers in this multiple offer sellers market? Who would like to go next?
Maybe can I start my records?
Joe John Baker would like to know, and I'd like to say his full name. He would like to know if we are recording this session, and we are recording this for all of our friends today. So who would like to answer that question? What are you doing to win the offer right now?
I guess I can start. So, yes, prayer, a lot of prayer. No, seriously, just, we do the buyer consultation and definitely explain, you know, what it's going to look like up front, just as Judy was saying, and prep them for, hey, how much are you comfortable with as far as due diligence? Because more than likely you're going up against some other people. And then, you know, so going as high as they can, telling them, hey, let's not try to negotiate. Let's go highest and best up front. Is this the home that you really, really love? Because if you miss out on this, is this the one that you're going to put up against all other homes? And if so, then maybe you put up your top budget offer out of the gate. So just going strong the first time. And
I
Yeah.
like that. Go
So-
big or go home.
yes.
So ditto everything Lauren said, especially the prayer part. And one of the things that I'm doing as well is if we have time while we're inside the listing, when we're seeing it for the first time, is we're trying to look inside the crawl space. We're trying to go into the attic. We're trying to look underneath the sinks to see if there's leaks or if there are any kind of issues that might be, repair issues that the seller's not willing to do. So we're trying to head those off at the very beginning. And then in our offer, we're actually stating that, this buyer will cover up to $3,000 or $4,000 of the first repair issues. And, sometimes that does work. Or if it's a newer house, we're saying there are no, we'll accept the house as is, no repairs at all. We're not waiving inspections, so we're still doing inspections. So they're still, have an opportunity to back out if they want. But, telling a seller that they don't have to make repairs if they don't want to, that seems to help.
I think that's a really valid point, especially when we have so many offers that are coming in. So, it's such large numbers. And so sellers sometimes are looking at, backup offers, and it makes it a little bit harder sometimes maybe to get them to do the repair. So I think that's really an interesting tactic to go in and go ahead and say, we'll cover this amount, or maybe we're not even going to ask for repairs based on the age of the house. And I love that that the day of just being door openers is definitely no longer a thing, that we have to really look and search. And
I take my flashlight.
I love it. So she takes her flashlight. Absolutely. I love it.
I was listening and I forgot something else that we're doing too. So we're actually adding in the purchase price addendum that Taylor Law added or wrote up, so that if we're going above the purchase price of the home or the list price of the home, that, we're talking with our buyers and we're saying, hey, how much are you comfortable going above if it only appraises for 200,000? How much cash can you bring to make up the difference? And we're putting that in there up front, and just to make the sellers know, hey, there's not an issue if there is a low appraisal that comes in.
Nice. Very nice. Using that addendum. She has chosen. Good work, you guys. Good work.
So one of the things I like to do, I like to call the agent and see what's important to their client, like every other Keller Williams agent does. But I sometimes shorten the due diligence period and make sure my client understand, if this is the house you like, offer the most you can offer up front.
Daniel, how are you guys winning buyer offers right now?
We're seeing everything, a little bit of everything, but I do think that winning the offer really starts, and everyone's touched on this, with educating your client, educating the buyer of what the market looks like. Go ahead and set that expectation, because to be very honest, it's not a market for everyone to buy right now. And I think when you set that right expectation, you can help put them in the best position to succeed, whether that's buying a home or staying where they are. So I think it starts with preparing the client. And then to touch on what everyone said, yes, we're seeing escalation clauses, we're seeing appraisal addendums. We're seeing a lot of those things come in on our listings. And I will tell you this, what most sellers really want is, however you can communicate this, the smoothest transaction possible. We want this to be smooth. We have a fantastic lender. We have a shortened due diligence period. We're not concerned about the appraisal. Whatever you can tell them. Deena touched on this. We've already looked in the crawl space. We feel good about that. Anything you can communicate, sellers really, really want a smooth transaction. So being creative and communicating that is also very important. And being a good agent to work with, which just means communicating. Nothing more than just communicating with one another.
I have to be honest, when I submit an offer, there's in my last sentence is always, that I'm going to work really hard, on both sides to make sure this is a smooth transaction. And I think something that you said that's really important is that you're taking that extra step to have conversations. You're not just sending offers in and pieces of paper because they don't know you or your clients or anything of them. So being able to really communicate, look, we do have a good lender. We're really, they really understand the process. We're really looking forward to a smooth transition. They're not just wanting to put this offer in and then roll out, and that's why we offered the due diligence amount. So I think the communication part is extraordinarily important. Sam, how about you? How are you winning with buyers right now? How are your offers getting accepted?
Feel like they've tapped it in most of the things. But the communication has been huge. One thing that I've seen recently that there's letters is I've had 2 deals affected by letters. So I've been telling clients, write a letter. A lot of times we haven't had time to they're like handwriting in the parking lot, But the times when we have, just, personalized and letting the agent know that, I'm here we want to make this smooth as possible and that I'm here to work and make this deal go through.
I love that. The one thing about the letters, even though it does exactly what I was just saying, right? It personalized that offer because it's not just a piece of paper. I just would like this disclosure wise with Miss Broker in charge in the room that, I could feel it. I could feel it. This is a conversation you and I have had because in all honesty, I didn't understand this rule quite frankly. And I have put myself in a situation I no longer put myself into. You have to be very careful, very, very careful not to violate any fair housing. And if you, and to elaborate on that further, maybe we'll cover it in the next video and stuff, use the broker in charge line. But what I want for us as agents, we always have to discuss the house, not the people that are going to live in it. So that's where you kind of get touchy. You want to make sure that you're not, breaking rules on familial status or, there's so many things. So just, one, always talk about the property, and 2, if you're going to use letters, because they are a very smart tactic, they really are, because it personalizes that offer. You gotta be very careful. And there are some agents that don't even want to see the letter. They just say, you seal it. I don't touch that. I will pass that over, but I don't have any idea what's in there. All right, good deal. Like I said, we want to keep you out of real estate, Jill. Judy, I know you're very much like Daniel and more on the listing side, but you also have buyers agents. As either a listing agent or thinking about your buyers and the offers they've won previously, what are you guys seeing or doing to win offers on the buy side right now?
So everything that everybody talked about, of course, we're a listing agent will let us talk to them in advance. We like to attempt to cultivate a bit of a relationship, a connection with them, so we stand out from the pack. On the listing side, I will ask my sellers, do you want to be the recipient of any love letters? Yes or no? And if they say no, this is all about the bottom line for me, then I'll say that in my agent remarks, like don't submit any sellers not interested. On the other hand, I do have some sellers to whom that matters. And in which case we'll let them come and read them. We are very careful on the buy side because of all the fair housing issues to say things correctly. Nothing additional. We're coaching every client about, if you're coming in with a sky high offer, then maybe you can let up a little bit on the due diligence fee. But like everybody, we've seen things that I would never have ever expected to see in the way of the combinations of due diligence fees and purchase prices and giving up their appraisal related rights. If someone is totally in love and says, I can't lose this house, and they're willing to just go all out. I guess maybe here's one point that hasn't been mentioned, how often the buyers will turn to us and say, what do you think? What should I do here? How much should I, right? They always want our input. And of course we can't, right? The last thing you ever want to do is be that agent who told them to do something and then they turn around and it didn't work out and then it's your fault. So, we hold firm at, listen, we can't tell you, but we can give you anecdotally what has worked for some of our other clients, just to give you a sense of what is working for others.
What's interesting that I heard that you said is that, and which is kind of what we were talking about, in previously, is that it may be that they just want all business and they just want a fast close. It may be they really want someone who's going to love their house. And that's why that conversation, if you're able to have it with that listing agent, matters so much, because it might not be the due diligence amount. It might not be the purchase price. It may be so many other factors. And then the other thing that that struck me as you were talking is something that our team leader, Ariel Anderson, has said, is that no longer how long you've been in the business, we're all on even playing field right now. We're all in a new market that we've never been in. And for you to say that, you know, and for all of you to say that, I just think that really just heightens how impactful that is. So that actually leads me into the next question. You guys kind of touched on a couple of things. I was like, oh, do I jump in? No, don't jump in yet. So have any of you guys experienced buyers that have decided to wait this market out? Oh, I'm saying, yeah. And what is the conversations that you have when that happens?
So I've had recently several buyers that have, like, I've had one that lost 7 offers last year that just, she renewed her lease and was just like, I'm done for a year, you know, we'll wait it out. The conversation, a lot of times it's hard to argue with some of my buyers because it's not the right time for them to buy. They're not ready for this market. So a lot of time it's just helping them maybe make that decision or finding a rental property for them. Like I've had to do that, you know, and it's just, and then with that, that's a challenge in its own. Just finding them housing period with some of my clients has been tough. But the ones that I felt that can still make it in the market, just let them know that it's not them. Like you're not, it was 27 offers on there. So 25 people lost with us, you know, it's not, it's just the way, it's the normalcy of the market is that you might not get your first house. And back to what we said several times is setting that expectation up front that, you know, you may lose, you know, multiple offers. It might not be the first house you pick, but we can get you in a house that you love is kind of the direction I take with it.
I like that. We can still get you a house that you love using that emotion. Emotion makes us act, right? Pain versus pleasure. That's it. It's always one or the other. Daniel, how about you?
Yeah, I agree with Sam, you know, just listening to what the client needs. I think one of the things that our team really prides ourselves on is you're never going to go wrong by telling someone the truth. And so if it's the truth that right now is not the right time for you to buy, then that's okay. And, you know, I'm in this for the long haul. So hopefully when they come around in a couple of years, they'll be ready to buy and they'll remember me, you know, and we'll stay in touch with them. So I just think that telling people the truth is really important, and it's not the right time for everyone to buy. Now, I also agree that there are some folks that get discouraged and need encouragement, and we need to say, hey, let's press on. We're going to find you a good house. You know, your family or whatever the reason is you're looking to buy, we need to press on and move forward and encourage you to keep looking. But again, I think it just goes back to telling people the truth. If it's not a sale right now, I promise that's going to come back tenfold later on if you're honest with them up front. So, you know, we're just, if it's the right time for them to press pause, then press pause. And if it's the right time to press on, then press on. And we'll work with them either way.
I totally agree with that. Just as my own practice, I try not to advise. I give the pros and the cons, the ins and the outs, and the decision is yours at the end of the day. So I think that that's very wise. And sometimes it is just motivation. Sometimes it is the normal course of business, right? They've gotten cold feet. They forgot why they were doing this. They're frustrated. And yeah, sometimes this is just not the right time, and that's okay. Paul, what would you like to add to that?
There's not much to add because it's the same thing with them. You know, I had the same issues. Sometimes it's just not the right time. You have to wait, you know.
You got anything that you would like to add?
One of the things that I did, excuse me, Sunday night, I showed one of Cindy Dudley's listings and knew it was going to have multiple offers on it. And this couple had been looking, I guess we've probably been looking 6-8 months. They've put in 7 or 8 offers. And they're just not, they don't have a lot of readily available cash. And that's kind of the problem. So I had a spreadsheet that I had done for one of my listings that showed the due diligence amounts, all of the addendums that were added. They would pay X amount over closing, over appraisal. And I removed all of the personal information and I shared that with them. And because I knew that this was not the right time for them. And that's a hard conversation to have with a buyer who is pre-qualified. They're excited when they first start. So I shared that spreadsheet with them Sunday night. I showed them how much due diligence folks were offering, how much they were, people were paying above appraisal value. And they texted me at like midnight Sunday night and said they agreed that this was not the right time. So they ended up signing, a new lease on their apartment Monday morning. But I agree with Daniel that, if you're honest with people like that, it will come back. And I know that this couple will come back to me. And it was just heartbreaking to watch them. So the honesty thing and showing them live examples, I think really helped put it in perspective for them. So.
That's a very good one. I think everybody made great points and, would just echo all of that as well. The only other things, to have a real experience, we had buyers that offered on 4 or 5 houses, lost out on them, and then they found the one. And when we were having the communications with them as far as what they were going to offer, we made them realize, hey, this is the house, and go really hard or go home. And they lost out on it. And it was a really tough call to call them and say, hey, you know what, you didn't get this one either. And they were heartbroken. However, they knew that they had put forth their best offer possible that they could present, and they were okay with it. And so the next house we looked at, yes, it wasn't as grand as the one before, and they have to do some renovations to it to make it what they want, but they won that one. And so now they're under contract. So setting expectations.
That makes sense to me. And also, sometimes you do, give them good advice, like go big and go home, and they lose out on a house or two. And then the conversation changes. You're allowed to have that conversation again about, okay, let's talk about offers. And sometimes the market has to help, educate them, even though you've prepared them as much as you possibly could. Judy, what has been your experience? Have you had experience with buyers who have decided to wait until the market becomes a little bit more even?
Sadly, yes. Not too many, though. One of the things that if we're running into loss upon loss, we'll talk and agree to drop the parameters and say, listen, we're in this price range is not making it. So how about if we either maybe search a different area or search in a lesser price point so you can go that much higher when you're making your offer. And sometimes that can help just to give them sort of a new beginning.
That's good advice. It's very good advice. And, sometimes if we have buyers who are losing out, it means that they might, just need to go down to a lower bracket. If your top window is 250, then we shouldn't be looking at 250 because you've got to be competitive. We need to go to a lower number. That's a really valid point. So oftentimes, outside of this market, when we talk to sellers, sometimes they all think that their house is going to be worth more than it is. Are you finding that still currently to be the conversations that you're having? Or are you finding that you're going in and you're surprising homeowners on how much the value is on their home? I would love to hear your experience.
I think it really depends on the seller. Some of them are very educated, and some of them are just like, hey, I hear that the housing market is great. What can I sell my house for? And they don't know. But I would say it's about 75% of the homeowners are being really surprised with the equity that the people I'm talking to that are in their homes. And so showing them that and making them realize that may, make them say, you know what, maybe it is the right time, and we'll find either temporary housing or we'll go into this crazy buying side of things. So.
Yeah, I don't have a lot to add to that because Lauren's exactly right.
You're not allowed to go after Lauren anymore.
Some people are genuinely surprised at how much money they have in their home. And then you run into that seller who, wants to list their house for $1 million and it's worth 200,000. So, as long as you're pricing it fair, and that's what I tell people, if they price it at fair market value, you're going to get multiple offers. You're going to have back-to-back showings, and it's going to sell for more than what we list it for anyway. So that's kind of how I try to educate my sellers.
Well, what has your experience been? If you think back on the listing appointments that you've had here recently, are you finding people more pleasantly surprised, or are you finding a lot of sellers who think their house is worth maybe more than the market will yield?
A little bit of both. Just yesterday, I had a client who I've been working with for weeks. They was expecting to get a certain amount for their home. When I went and looked at the home, I told them, it's a little short. It's going to be a little short. And a house right down the street for them went under contract and had 35 offers. So I used that information to actually seal the deal with them yesterday when they found out that, hey, if we list it at a fair market price, like she was saying, it'll go to where we need to go to. So that's how I won one of the listings. Yeah.
Daniel, same question. As you think about your most recent listing appointments, how are you finding it? Are you finding that a lot of people are surprised when they hear the value that you were, the probable sales price, as I should properly say? I feel you. But or are you finding that people are unrealistic about what their house can yield?
It's both. Yeah, that's a tough question to answer. Just because it's so hard. There's so many tools out there now, estimates, and Realtor has a guess, and there's so many things they can use to try and formulate their own value. All those algorithms are just trying to chase the market, and so it's both. We've disappointed folks, made folks very happy. Same thing I said earlier. We just try to tell them what we see is the truth and hope it pleases them. And like Paul said, I mean, we also tell folks if they are disappointed, look, now's the time to try and get that number you want. If there's ever a time we can get it, it's right now.
That's a good point. That's a really good point.
If you're disappointed, you're going to be disappointed.
Absolutely. No, that's a really good point. It is. If you want to try something crazy, this is certainly the time to do so. However, if in 10 days, there's that question as well. Sam, same question.
I have seen a lot of surprises in what the prices that they could get for houses, but I've also had a few that they were thinking like, man, I can get $400,000 for my $100,000 house as well. Just I've heard the market's red hot. So I have seen that, but for the most part, it's been wow. I can get that, and they have that much equity. So just being truthful and educating them on what the market's doing and what they can get for it has been us.
Absolutely. As much as we like for everybody to like us, so we're not here to be their friends. We're here to be their fiduciary, and telling the truth is part about that. Judy, as a listing agent yourself, thinking back on your listing appointments here most recently, how about you? Are you seeing a little bit more unrealistic expectations from sellers, or are you seeing sellers who are really surprised about the CMAs that you're providing?
Thankfully, most of my sellers go in realistically, or I always encourage them to go toward the conservative end of the range, and then they're wildly happy at the end. So I prefer it that way than coming in lower. So we usually attempt to price at the lower end of the range, and then they're super happy later on.
I like that. Set them up for success. That is going on the more conservative side and surprising them in a good way and not necessarily in disappointment. All right. The final question that I will ask before I will turn it over to see if any of you would like to ask some burning questions to our fabulous panel. And we've kind of talked about it a little bit already about how you changed some things in your business. As we are looking to gain more listings, all of us are looking to get more listings, right? We've got plenty of buyers out there. What we really need is inventory. Even though our listing sales are up, we still, for the amount of buyers that we have, is there anything that you're doing more creative to find listings than what you were doing prior? Anybody? Please.
So we had a buyer who said, I want a house in this one neighborhood. And for the first time in years, we said, okay, let's do the neighborhood letter. So we sent out, I don't know, probably a couple of hundred letters. And sure enough, I got 2 immediate responses. One was a house that was just coming on the MLS, but the other was a house that was kind of down the road a few extra months. So they were not ready to go on the market. But bottom line is we struck a deal. We just closed on that house. They've got their current house under contract. So that was a huge success story. And we we use that success to trigger other neighborhood mailings. And so far, we haven't netted any results from the others, just that first one. But it did prove itself out for us.
Oh, so having a buyer that needed a listing that didn't exist out there, you guys went out there and you found that. I love that circle prospecting based on the need. How about you guys? Anybody had any interesting, cases in which you're out there doing something different to win listings than you were doing prior to this crazy market? Not that we haven't been in the seller's market for a long time, but this particular seller's market has been intense.
I know one thing, I don't know if it's different, but I've been reaching out to my sphere a lot more about like, hey, you want to just get a free CMA? Like, even if you're not thinking about it, you'd be surprised how much equity, let's just see. And I've even like people I know more personally, like, hey, let me do a practice CMA, just and we'll get the numbers. And I've had people like, wow, that's, so just giving them that. But I feel like I've done that the whole time, but just pushing it more people directly to me, just because people can see those numbers and they haven't thought about selling might persuade them a little bit.
I think that's really fair, since all of you said that you're seeing half and half, right? You're seeing some people who are saying Zillow says my house is worth, $5 billion, and then you're having people who are really surprised by the equity. So it seems like a very smart tactic. Paul, what would you like to add?
One of the tactics I use is that I like to drive through different neighborhoods and look for people that's having like construction on their home or renovations, and then going back to the office or home, mail them a letter telling them that I possibly may have a buyer that's interested in their house if they're willing to sell. Ask them if they might get a CMA or come by and just talk to them for 15 minutes about their home.
Talk about pounding the pavement by just being observant about what's going on. Fantastic. Do you do that in certain areas, or do you have a plan of attack?
Right now, the area that I'm
No, you don't have to say where. You don't have to say where. I was just curious. It's a yes or no. Yes or no. Yes, it's fair. Joe's over there like, Joe goes, what neighborhood was that? Thank you very much. No, yes or no is totally fine. You say yes. And give you a run for your money. What about the rest of the panel? Have you done anything different or interesting to gain listings right now?
One thing that we've done that found that it works, we've got a couple of lenders that we've partnered with and agreed to connect with people that maybe don't know the equity they have in their house. And so we're using that as an opportunity to connect with our database and just say, hey, if you don't know how much equity you have in your house, maybe take advantage of the low interest rates and let me send you some great lenders, and maybe you need to refinance your home. And just being that education tool for your previous clients. And then it'll come back to you.
I like that. I agree with that too. Deena, do you have anything that you would like to add?
I have actually sent out a mailing very much like Judy.
Hmm.
Had a buyer who was looking for a specific neighborhood, and she allowed me to put her name in the letter. So, but that was strictly for a buyer's agent. We did the mailing probably 3 months ago, and now I'm getting a couple of phone calls from that neighborhood about wanting to sell their home. And even though she has already purchased a house, possibly this might lead into a couple of listings. So the fact that I put her name, I used her name, and she allowed me to do that. It made it very personal to the homeowner, and it didn't seem like a solicitation. It actually felt more like I was really searching, for a home for her, which I really was. So, so hopefully it will end up, with a couple of listings as a result.
I love that personal touch. Daniel, did you have anything that you wanted to add about how you guys are working to gain listings right now?
Just a lot of follow-up and being consistent with things that have worked.
Lead gen, lead follow-up. There's your first two jobs right there. I love it. I love it. All right. So yeah, I already see Joe's hand, and that is exactly proper time. Joe, you must have felt me coming to you guys. If there was any questions that I didn't ask that you would love to have asked, I'll repeat the question so that our friends in Zoom can hear. Joe, what is your burning question?
Well, one comment that I wanted to make, and it came from Judy Weinstock's buyer's agent one time. A brilliant script that he used to gain listings was that he went in the neighborhood where they just got a listed home under contract, and he circled around the neighborhood saying, look, we had 14 offers on this home, 13 didn't get it, and they were over the list price. And they want to buy in this neighborhood. Do you want to sell your home? That was brilliant.
Yeah, so you guys probably actually heard Joe because Joe's got a voice like I do, and like we're kindred spirits. But what his comment was is that he really liked, Judy's team has got a tactic where they circle prospect over a listing and they let people know, and our team and several others are doing the same tactic as well, to where we circle prospect. We get a house under contract in a couple of days. This amount of buyers lost out on it. Who else is ready to go ahead and sell their house? I love that. All right, so we just have a few.
Well, I do have a question.
Oh, then I will allow you to ask a question. I almost dinged you for doing a comment, but you were too far into the comment for me to stop you. So no, what's your question, Joe?
My question is for the listing agents, what listing had the most offers and how did you manage that with your sellers?
The question is of the panel, which listing was the one that had the most amount of offers, and what was the second half of that?
And what did you do to manage that?
And what did you do to manage it?
That's a great question.
You're welcome.
As always, as expected. I think 25 offers, maybe 27 offers on a home we had in Mebane on Lebanon Road. I think that was our most. And to manage it is just staying on top of it nonstop. Every offer, making sure every agent knows you received their offer. It is really important. And then as far as communicating to the seller, making sure that you are very detailed and organized in presenting all of the terms of every offer to the seller. And then it's, just setting up time to talk through all of the offers and helping them understand, how you can quickly, unfortunately to buyer agents in here, weed out some of the offers based on certain criteria and then focus on the very strong offers that come in.
You said something very important. How do you guys keep those offers organized when you have 25 to 27 offers?
We organize it in a spreadsheet that has all the most important criteria and then also present the offers themselves. So offer number one and then titled offer number one, and here's an email with it. Most of the time, the sellers just care about the spreadsheet. Looking at the broker in charge, make sure I'm saying. I am also a big fan in this market. I don't want an agent to come back and say, and I've had this happen multiple times, I'm sure we all have, it was my offer presented, or, was my offer presented or something like that. So I'm careful to be able to have that spreadsheet to say, yes, absolutely, your offer was presented. Here's a paper trail of your offer being presented. So making sure you're careful with all of the offers. And the other thing that I've tried to do more recently is when we send out the notice that an offer has been accepted, trying to encourage folks with that. Not, hey, too bad you lost. But just sending out something about how difficult this market is, how much we really do appreciate the offers. I'd say that's one of the hardest parts on the listing side in this business. Your clients are thrilled, but keeping the camaraderie amongst your agents, your fellow agents who, when you get 25 offers, to be very honest, 20 of them are great offers, but you can only pick one. And so trying to make sure you communicate to people that, look, we really do appreciate this offer, but we can only choose one, and it's not your folks' fault. They don't have cash and they're competing with a cash buyer or, whatever the situation is, just letting them know how much we do appreciate the offer. And hope we can work together in the future.
I think that, not only being organized, but being compassionate in that situation. So you're avoiding extra turmoil by going ahead and letting them know right away your offer. Yes, we accept it. We received your offer. So you don't have a ton of people calling you. And so one, it's good management on your side, but that's also, that's what we're all about. Our wife, we're C2Ts, right? That's really, that's what we stand for. So I love that you're also reaching out after the fact and saying, like you said, you're not just saying, sorry, sucks to be you. You're really saying, hey, it was a great offer. We really appreciated it. It just wasn't the winning offer. I love that. Same question, you guys, that it was a really good question from Joe. What was the listing that you had with the most amount of offers? And why can't I remember the second part of that? Oh, and how did they manage it? Who would like to go next? Deena, let's have you go next.
Okay.
Had a listing out in Southern Alabama. It was listed for 145,000 for that. To tell you how many offers I got right off that. So I think I ended up with 27 offers.
Wow.
That's when I created my little spreadsheet, and I actually printed every single offer off the printer, hand delivered them to her. She was a friend of mine, and She has copies of all of the offers so that I know without a doubt that I've presented all 27 offers to her. And we just simply looked at the spreadsheet is what we did. And I put in there, you know, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And then her net, what her net was and the date of closing. And that just seems to work out the best. And I've actually used that spreadsheet ever since. So it was a lot of offers, and my phone rang constantly for 3 days. Some, you know, Triangle Realtors were calling me at 11 p.m. and I still answered the phone just because I can't tell you how many times I've been on the buying side of a multiple offer situation, and you call a listing agent and they're like, what now? You know, and so I try so hard not to be like that because being a buyer's agent is so difficult right now, and I try to use compassion.
I love that. I think it helps for those who either have a team that does both sides or as individuals who do both sides, because we do. Yeah, you understand what that feels like. Two important things that I heard you say. The one, adding the net to that sheet. I'm sure all of us use a spreadsheet. I'm not using the net on that spreadsheet, so that's a nugget I'm going to steal. And two, and I heard Daniel say the same thing, the importance of making sure that it's organized, back to your question, because we have the obligation to present every single offer that comes in, which means we must be diligent to pay attention and to not let those fall to the wayside. Lauren, would you like to go next? Okay. Oh, no, actually, no, you're right, Judy, you were next. I even pointed to you and said, I heard you. And then that's my bad. Go ahead, Judy.
So just a practical idea for managing all these offers. And of course, I copied this from somebody else in town. We created another Gmail account for offers at judyweinstock.com. And it is like the best thing, because I don't know about the rest of you. I can't get my inbox down below about 1,500 these days. So knowing that my offers, and they're not all, you know, so many people are just in the habit of sending directly to the agent. But then when I get it there, I'm just shifting it over to my offers box. It's so much easier to manage and to make sure you've covered all of them. I've also found offers in my spam. So, you know, just a word to the wise, you got to be checking everywhere to make sure you're getting them. So just that tip, it's worth the effort to open up an offers at, you know, whatever your inbox is. And then going back to the door knocking, one of my coaches has said, when you get, you know, 15 offers on a listing and then you're door knocking the neighborhood, you want to use the word, you want to take the cover sheet of your 14 other offers and kind of wave them in front of the seller and say, I have 14 desperate buyers here who are dying to be in your neighborhood. Have you thought about selling?
Wow. That one gave me goosebumps. That was powerful. That was a good one. That was a real good one. I like that. I had never thought about doing the separate email account either, Judy. And what that occurs to me is that also would be something very easily leveraged that you could turn over to another member of the team should you actually want to take vacation, if that's ever a thing, you know, right? And still be diligent in submitting those offers. And I love that. That's two good nuggets. All right. Who has not gone? I know my friends on the top row have on this question particularly. You went, Paul, did you go on how many offers? What's the most? Okay, I thought so.
I believe the house I had the most offers on was when I sold over in Liberty. I think we had about 10 offers on it. And I'm old school, so I just printed it out and we set a day aside and we just went over all the offers. I'm not sophisticated like these guys with spreadsheets and stuff. You know, that's me.
Paul, it's all relationships though. So that time that you sat at that kitchen table going through those offers, I guarantee you that meant a lot.
Yeah, they were buyers as well.
Oh, look, yeah, definitely. Sam?
The most I've had is 9 on one, and we printed them off with a highlighter and highlighted things, and they were real. They didn't like getting emails and stuff, so we just adjusted to them. That's how they wanted to do it. They wanted to look at each one, and we did it. But it was 9 styles.
That's most likely a really important question on listing appointment is when we have these offers come in, how do you want to handle this? This is one way that I can do it, or this is another way, and what are you most comfortable with? Well, you guys, we have actually met our time and we could go on, I'm sure,
for quite a bit of time. So which means we will do this again. We're going to have more and more panels. We will not only just call on you guys though, so breathe easy, breathe easy. I would love for everyone to give some love to our panelists today. Please give them a warm round of applause. And I appreciate you guys tolerating having to listen to my voice for an hour as your host. As always, I love to be your host, however. You guys, we are recording this, so we'll make sure that this gets out to the Market Center. And just thank you for all of you for showing up today. This is a great turnout, good questions, and I hope that you got something out of this for your business today. Adios, amigos.
Thank you.